work out for us in the commentary? Excellent. Hi, everybody. Welcome to part of the first round of the group phases of the Total Chaos Tournament. My name is Shinbreaker7. Racing on the left here, we have Ooj Sigma, and on the right, we have PikminSteve. The first thing you're doing here is kind of the key glitch for the run. It's an equipment glitch that allows us to change either an item or a weapon into an item of a different category. Basically, you have a list of items. Say you have item number 1 in a list, and you have a designation for the item for, say, armor. Then you'll have a weapon designation of 1, and by changing from one slot to another on a different character at the same time, it's almost frame perfect. You can trick it into letting you getting items that you're not allowed to have at this point in the game. So at the very beginning, we trick the game to get some Knight's Armors, which not only are extremely powerful armor, but it allows us to make one extra that we can sell to fund the run. So almost all of our money that we need in the run, we just got through that glitch, and our characters are virtually invincible. So this game is very, very, very heavily influenced by RNG. The PBs between Ooj Sigma and PikminSteve is about a 5-minute difference, but RNG on this game can let you sway, 5-10 minutes either direction very, very easily. So just because there is a fairly significant gap in the PBs between these two runners, that doesn't actually mean that much as far as in terms of the race who's going to win. A lot of it's going to come down to luck. And it looks like PikminSteve actually does have an early lead. He just had some pretty good luck on the walk here. So Steve is coming up on our second equipment glitch of the run. This one is allowing us to change the leather cap into judgment staves. Judgment staves are I usually only get kind of a post-game super dungeon content that not only are more powerful than any swords we have at this point in the run, they are also allow you to, for free, as many times as you want, cast the flare spell. So we'll be seeing that used pretty soon, but right now we're just equipped on everybody so we can fight Garland more easily. So we should be able to defeat Garland in a single cycle here. Alright, so Garland is down for our first streamer, but Ood has pretty good luck toward the end of that walk there and is catching up very, very quickly. So coming up here is actually one of the longest cutscenes of the game. It's still only a few seconds though. This minor mistake there on Steve's side. He tried walking away and the princess called him back to hand the loot. Let's see if Ood saves a little time by walking and talking to her directly. Just saves a few seconds in a text box with the faster walking and not having to turn around. And he did. So that's going to be a minor time save he gets. Now here on the bridge cutscene, if you look at the work on the bottom left, you'll see he's actually not doing anything. When they re-released this game, they added some cutscenes. They added some cutscenes in the early game, and then they just kind of decided they didn't want to do anymore. So they added this cutscene, and it's really the only thing like this in the whole game. The only other thing we'll really be seeing is after you defeat bosses, it shows the opening of some kind of optional dungeons later on. Come on, the bridge right here. Another short little cutscene. One of the few breathers you get. It's like about 3 or 4 seconds. Now on this walk they're doing right here, there's a few enemy formations that you really don't want to run into, especially if you get ambushed. One of them is the wolves. Wolves, there's a lot of them and they're hard to run from, but also the crazy horses that Steve just ran into have some slight issues as well. They can be difficult to run from, but they're not nearly as bad as the wolves, and there's not as many of them. When you get ambushed by 9 wolves, that's a big time loss, any way you look at it. And it looks like Sigma is catching up somewhat on this walk. Alright, here in Provoca, we're going to go talk to the captain and fight this pirate. This is going to be the first time we see the Judgment Staff first. As y'all saw, it just very, very quickly one-shotted all those pirates. And that's the only battle in the game where we really have to do that. But there's anytime we get ambushed by large amounts of enemies, we're going to do that as well. Also, certain unrunnable encounters. Like Pisco Demons, we're running into them a lot. If we're unlucky. And if you have more than 3 of them, and really if you have more than 4, big time, it's a lot quicker to do that than to attack them. Now, Ood ran into a lone shark there a minute ago. The lone shark is for some reason a difficult battle to run from. You can escape from it, but sometimes it takes several turns, and sometimes it's better just to go ahead and attack it, even though you technically could run from it. Now here in the sea, there's enemies called Sahagins you don't want to run into because you tend to get a lot of them and they can be hard to run from, and especially if they're paired with an enemy called Big Eyes. Big Eyes can paralyze their characters and have a very slow animation. That's a great question over there, Agony. The reason we are using this party in this version of Final Fantasy is it's kind of built around the equipment glitch, and then also surviving the final battle. This game has a much more difficult final boss. Most of the game is much easier, but the final boss, Chaos, actually has significantly more hit points in this version, and it can be hard to survive. So we have the warrior simply to equip an item that allows us to use the equipment glitch later to get the most powerful weapon in the game by a factor of 2, maybe 3 times, and get it equipped on every character. That's the entire reason we have him, is so he can do a glitch. The thief we have, because when he turns into the ninja and has the most powerful sword in the game, will become the most powerful damage dealer in the party. And the mages we have for spells. The Black Mage for the teleport spell and haste, which works very differently in this Final Fantasy. We'll be talking about that later. And the White Mage in order to cast Healara. So we have her and the Black Mage, but especially the White Mage, just for the final battle of the game. Every other boss except for one, we usually one cycle, but Chaos can actually be a very difficult battle. So they're completing the walk over here to the Marsh Cave. The Marsh Cave typically has a fairly low encounter rate. It's not unheard of to have a 0 encounter Marsh Cave, but sometimes you get unlucky and have a whole bunch of them. That's kind of Final Fantasy 1 in a nutshell. They're coming up on our first spike tile of the game. A spike tile is a tile that when you step on, you always have a certain battle. This time it will be Pisco Demons, a certain number of them. We're not sure how many. That is random, and there's a slight chance of them one-shotting you here. They have very powerful physical attacks sometimes. And Sigma actually was in a race in last year's tournament, and actually he got 4 critical attacks against his party, and had to start the race over because he got unexpectedly wiped out right here. So both runners are definitely running close to each other right now. It is absolutely, like I said, one bad ambush can cost you, even if it doesn't wipe your party, it can cost you a minute or more just from waiting on the enemies to attack you. There's a slight chance of some enemies in here can cause the paralysis status, which can be very bad. I myself actually had a really bad run in here the other day. I got all my characters paralyzed. They didn't get out of it and got killed in this dungeon. Emulator, most of us do run this game on emulator. I've gone back and forth. I have for the PSP. The emulator has a few advantages. First off, versus the PSP running with the game disc, it's about 4 to 5 minutes of load time. The loading is very slow off the UMD disc. But you can also run it directly off the memory of the PSP, just using a memory stick. If you have a hacked PSP, then the only huge loss you have on time there is you don't have the ability to save quickly. Going into the save screen takes time, and we will be doing safety stages. There is not a step route in this game. If there was, we would not have quite as much RNG. We currently don't have a method of manipulating encounter luck. That would make this game much, much easier. Alright, so up at the second boss here, Astos, he has a chance on the first round of casting Death against one of your 4 party members. We want him to cast, if he does, on either the Thief or the Warrior. We're going to be doing a brief grinding session later, and we want, but the only characters that matter for that are our mages, so we want them to stay alive just so they level at the same time. But the main reason that most people run emulator is just, not a lot of people have PSPs and this game and the ability to capture. So there's not a huge difference between the versions. Loading times is really the big thing, and so we allow it all for the race, and for our leaderboards, just to allow more people to take part whether or not they use emulator console. Alright, so this whole kind of beginning of the game is kind of a big fetch quest that's made up of smaller fetch quests. So right now we're doing a big backtracking section to get back on the boat to go a little kind of closer to where we began the game. We got the helm, the crystal, no. We got the crown, and you get my facts straight. We got the crown from Astos. We need to trade it with the Witch Matoya for her crystal eye. That will allow us to get a crown. We give to Astos, that gives the crystal eye. We're going to give that to Matoya to get the Jolt Tonic, which will allow us to wake up a prince. That'll give us a magic key that'll let us open a chest that will allow us to get some TNT that will allow us to open a path on the map. It's lots of steps to that quest. And yes, for anybody that was watching AGDQ and saw Fiesel's run, that was great run, fun to watch. But this version of the game is very different in how we glitch it, and it is going to be a much faster run. The world record right now is in the 125 range. It was actually the world record for a long time was held by Ood, who's streaming right here, at 127.01. He held it for a while. But a more typical time is going to be in the mid 130s. It requires some pretty good encounter luck to get those sub 130 times. A lot of people's PBs are still not broken the 130 mark through no fault of their own. Yeah, it is a very big difference, and it's just because with the equipment glitch, we're able to make our characters ludicrously overpowered. The sword will be getting in a little while. The Barbarian Sword has an attack power 2, maybe 3 times as strong as the Massive Moon. It's just really, really, really strong. And I think my sum of best is in the 111 range, and I know some of the better runners have that a little quicker. But I'm curious to see what happens when they do develop a good method for tasking the PSP, because I think it'd be really interesting to see how low this run could get. So right here, we walk out of the castle and back in just to go across it more quickly than actually walking across it. And we're doing our third equipment glitch of the run. We are changing the axe we're picking up right here into Thieves' Armlets. Now, the Thieves' Armlets, we're actually putting in our glove, armor, and helmet slots because the equipment glitch lets us do that. We're basically putting everything but the shield slot because the shield slot, if you try to block with an item that doesn't have an animation, soft locks the game. But not only does it give us greater defense, but the bigger reason is the Thief's Armlet makes it easier to run from battles. So if we equip them on every character, then we have a much better chance of escaping fleeing battles. So the shark was giving us trouble earlier. We are now going to be running from. Also, our runners, when they swung by the elf village, they did that just to pick up some gold needles in case they get petrified later on in the run. That may not happen, but if it does, we need to have a way to remove the petrification. And like Zelnus is saying in chat there, it appears that the encounters are frame-based, so step routing isn't really something we can do in this game. Something a task might be able to do something, but it's not something that we would be able to. Alright, so we just picked up the nitro powder over on Ood's stream, and that is, just the castle where we started the game. When I just opened up a chest in there so we could get the nitro powder so we can go visit the dwarves and get out into the main part of the game. So we're going to have another brief little cutscene coming up here. So this cutscene actually, there's some kind of grid lines you can see on it that are more pronounced, like just little graphical areas that are more pronounced on the emulator than they are on the console. And that's one way to visually tell if someone's using an emulator. So look for those grid lines on the guy goes in little video mode. It's a very brief scene, though, since we tend to skip it so quickly. All right. And so now Ood's going to be working his way over to the village of Melmond. It's going to be our most visited location in the game. We're going to be going there 3 times. This first time we're going there simply to get the steel gloves. Those will allow us to get the Barbarian Sword, which you can usually only get by defeating the hardest version of the hardest post-game super boss. And we're just going to get it for free up here. And Steve's getting trolled a little bit, but he's still not very far behind, trust me. This is easily recoverable. So, Ood's here getting his armor, and he's going to be glitching the steel gloves from the warrior, who's the only one who equipped it, onto the white mage and on the thief, and then he's going to have to swap the white mage and black mage position the formation so he can glitch it onto the black mage as well. And that will be the configuration for the rest of the game. And for anybody watching this game for the first time, interested in running it, this is a speed run you can learn. You can watch a tutorial on it, and then have your first run completed, all done within a 4-hour window. It is a very, very easy run to learn. And it actually makes for good races because of the RNG factor. You can be up in a race against a world record holder, and you've played the game a little bit, you actually still have a decent chance of winning. It's not, you're playing Super Metroid or something where you have to have years and years of practice to be competitive in it. So on the 3rd floor, we're going to be running into our first opportunity to get unrunnable encounters, also petrifications. So this is where the floor where the game can really start treating you bad. If we run into Pisco demons in this dungeon, you cannot run from them. You have to fight them. So the judgment stats will be handy for that. Also, we can run into cockatrices, which are birds that have a physical attack that can petrify. Now we're also going to be fighting here the vampire. It's our first boss we're fighting using the new swords. You will see why we like the new swords. So we were able to one-shot the boss there. Alright, so this is for most of us, this is our least favorite backtracking section of the game. We're going to go into this dungeon deep down to fight the vampire to get the star rupee. Now we're going to be turning around and going to give that to another character so we can go get another item so we can come back to the same spot in the dungeon. Very frustrating. And Sigma running into his first set of Pisco demons there. So there's 3 of them. He was already set up on the attack on all of his characters. He attacked them. If you already had the judgment stuff out, he would have done that. 3, it's kind of a wash which way you go. And something I failed to mention is when they're on the walk outside of the Cavern of Earth here, Steve ran to some a minute ago, you can run into a certain enemy formation that can only get you as a preemptive or as an ambush. An ambush in this game is very, very, very bad because basically every enemy gets a turn before you can even select the opportunity to try to run, then they get more turns. So if you get really unlucky on fast enemies, and there's 9 of them, you could have 18 enemy attacks before your first character even tries to run. Yeah, Roach just began the game, and he is absolutely holding his own in the casual races we've been doing. So Roach said he got the 133 time frame in his first week. Alright, looks like Sigma is taking out the vampire. Agony, if you want to make this your first speedrun ever, it's actually a great first speedrun. It was mine, it's a lot of people's because the barrier to injury is kind of low. It lets you see if you enjoy it. And it's long enough to stay interesting, short enough to also stay interesting. You're not having to do the same game 20 times a day, but at the same time, it's not a 7-8 hour speed run like some RPGs. So Sigma giving the Star Ruby to the guy here so he can eat it. There are a lot of parts of this game that kind of show their age, as far as the age of the original Final Fantasy game. It's just a whole lot of fetch questing. Kind of artificially adds time to the game. But we remove a lot of time from speedrunning, so it makes up for it. So in the Sage's Cave, we're going to be getting the Earth Rod, which will allow us to open a staircase right behind where the vampire was. So now we have to go back to the Earth Cave and back through those first 3 floors again so we can get to the 4th and 5th floors. So the shadows Ood was fighting just a second ago were the enemies that can only ambush or give you a preemptive. We love preemptives. Preemptives you can always run from, even if it's an otherwise unrunnable encounter. Preemptive fights you can always run from instantly. There's no chance of failing them. We like them. And those shadows can only be one or the other, but I think it's a 7 in 8 chance of it being preemptive, and then a 1 in 8 chance of it being an ambush. So, not a whole lot to go over on this walk back through the cave. Just, it's a long walk. But actually, it's going fairly well so far. Oh, this could be bad. There's a cockatrice ambush. If all 4 of Ood's characters here get petrified, it's game over. So he's choosing to run, which is a little risky. Alright, that was really scary. I do the same thing when I do the run, but it is a little scary. Sometimes it is safer to go ahead and use your Judgment Tap and just kill all of them. Because as you saw, you failed to run once there. If you fail to run too many times, they will petrify other characters and you will lose. And all of us who have run the game a lot have had those cockatrices wipe us out at some point. Cavern of Earth, for me personally, is my least favorite dungeon just because I don't know, ice is bad too. The ice and earth caverns are both really, really rough. You can get wiped unexpectedly, you can get parallaxed. It's bad. So at this point in the game, we're trying to hunt down the 4 fiends of earth, fire, water, and air. So at the bottom of this dungeon, we will be coming across our first of 4 fiends, and we should be doing a safety save. Is the Fiend of Earth, the Lich, and he has a chance of casting Blizzara. While our equipment is very, very overpowered, we do not have any magical protection, and our characters are extremely underleveled at this point in the game. So we're doing a safety save in case he casts Blizzara, because it will usually wipe out the entire party in 1 hit. Yeah, Waterfall Cavern also is a bad spot. This game has a lot of parts that can just go very, very badly. So we should be able to one-cycle Lich, and looks like Ood did. Actually, the dungeon with the Kraken, which is the Sunken Shrine, it can have a lot of time loss. There's a lot of unrunnable encounters you can run into there, but there's not much of a risk of getting party wiped. So it's RNG heavy, but you're not gonna have a game over there. So now we've defeated Lich, we can go on to the next village and get ourselves a canoe so we can go into Ice Cavern. This kind of section of the game is kind of a really rough gauntlet between the Cavern of Earth and then the Cavern of Ice. You can be on world record pace, and by the time you're done with the Cavern of Ice, you can be 7-8 minutes behind. I've lost a lot of PBs in this area of the game. So if you look here, you'll see there's just water around the ship. We have a few cues telling us when to turn, but one of the harder things about learning this game, it's still something I mess up fairly often with the airship, is just, navigating the map, efficiently. At this point, we're also need to be looking at the health of our party. We want our warrior and our thief to be under about 60 hit points here. There's a point coming up where we need them to die. We're also going to be buying 41 ethers. That's just because it's easier to do 41 than 40. And that's just our magic for the run. We're also going to be duping the mithril axe for a couple characters into black garbs. Now, unfortunately, the only character right now who can equip the mithril axe is the warrior. So most runners just put the black garbs on the black mage and the thief. It's possible to then swap the black mage and white mage again to give her black garbs, but it's not really worth it at that point. And the canoe is our newest travel item that will allow us to go across shallow water. And we'll be seeing Sigma use it here in a minute. Meanwhile, Steve is making up for some lost time here. He was definitely further behind than this earlier, so I'm glad to see him catching up. So Sigma is on his way over to the Cavern of Ice. There are a couple things that can go wrong in the Cavern of Ice. There are a few rare encounters that can party wipe you. One is the White Dragon, and one is the Mind Flayer. The White Dragon has a full party magical attack that's very, very powerful, and if he ambushes you, can be very, very bad. And then the Mind Flayers have an attack that has a chance to paralyze every party member, and their physical attack has instant death attached to it. So there's a random chance anytime they attack you of it just instantly killing your character. They are kind of the worst enemies in the game. We really, really don't like them. Also, in this dungeon, we will run across possibly some more cockatrices, which can petrify you, and some pisco demons, which are unrunnable. And there are also lots of undead enemies that can paralyze you. But it's also where we're going to have our grinding session. So we're going to be using the spike tiles I was speaking about earlier for that. Which, once again, is a tile that always has the same encounter on it. In this case, there's a mini-boss that we'll be trying to avoid. Sigma having a scary cockatrice fight here. And he's going to go ahead and use the Judgment Staff. He's having both characters do it in case one of them gets petrified. And also just gets them on there. Oh! Okay. Woo! That was scary. Sigma's going to be coming up on the grind fight here in just a moment, we're hoping. So on the grind fight, we're going to be defending the first round, hoping that the evil eye we're grinding against will cast Thundara and kill our warrior and our thief, just so all the experience goes to our mages. They're the only one whose experience matters. This Ice Gigas Winter Wolf encounter is an unrunnable Sigma's coming up against. So he has to fight them. And the Captain of Ice is being a little cruel to him, but that just means it's going to give PikminSteve a good chance to catch up. Alright, come on. So, Steve obviously got very, very lucky with the White Mage, surviving that attack. Like I said, this can be a very, very unforgiving. Oh, now he's got a White Dragon. That's scary. So Sigma's now in the grind fight. I'm gonna see how he does here. Now on the grind, we're gonna try to grind until we get to level 18 and then one more battle. And this is just so that we know by the time we do a few more required fights later in the run, we'll be at level 19, which will allow us to purchase some spells we need for the end of the game. As people in chat are saying, Steve is having to deal with the fact that he accidentally healed the warrior after that near miss, and because of that, he's having to get the warrior to die. That's going to unfortunately cost him some time. And Sigma is through the grind. He healed everybody up. There's this spike tile right after he drops down that can be sometimes get your party paralocked, so it can be kind of scary. But it's probably in the clear for now to go get himself an airship. Right, so just a little backtracking that we're going to take a different route out of the cave. And then we should be out back on the world map. So that's one of the scariest sections of the run that Sigma just got out of. There's only one or two other places where we really need to worry about getting party wiped until the final boss. Both of them had fairly cruel ice caves, but they both made it out. And any ice cave you escape from is a good ice cave. Steve is using Flare here to prevent the risk of a paralock. When every party member gets paralyzed, it's not like getting everyone petrified. The game doesn't automatically end, but your party starts not getting their turns. The enemies just keep attacking, and you can get caught in it for several minutes, and rarely your party members won't break out of the paralyzation, and the enemy will just attack you until you die. So it can be huge problem. And they're both out of the ice cave, so hopefully we'll both get to see them both finish the run. Now we're on our way to the Citadel of Trials on Stream. And he's going to be going there to get an item that will allow us to upgrade our characters later on. So instead of having a fighter, a thief, a white mage, and a black mage, we'll have a knight, a ninja, a white wizard, and a black wizard. We used to take a slightly different route to get here. We would actually take the ship down here instead of the airship to prevent this walk. Instead you have take the boat down here to the water that we just canoed across. But you have a low encounter rate in the water, but we've tested it a lot and determined that it is slightly faster to take the airship and do that long walk. Now, if you're worried that if you try to learn this game, you won't know your way through this Citadel Trials because all these teleporters you have to take, it's very simple. If there is a lower teleporter, take it. If there's a teleporter on the right, otherwise take it. So priority goes for the lower teleporter, but otherwise the one on the right. And it's real simple to get through here. There is one unrunnable encounter you'll run into pretty often here that Sigma just ran into, the Minotaur zombies. So he'll have to fight those. We will also be running across some nightmares here in a second. They're an upgraded version of the Crazy Horse. They are not unrunnable, but they're extremely difficult to run from. So until later in the game, when we get our final item that helps us run, we're probably just going to go ahead and fight them, because the odds of escaping on a run are very low unless you get a preemptive. So he was also having to deal with these Rakshasas, which have they're not really that dangerous, but they usually cast fire, so it's just the time it takes to animate is very frustrating. So Sigma got lucky there and got a preemptive on the nightmares the first time. The second time, let's see what happens. He got ambushed, so he's gonna have to fight them this time. So as a spike tile, you will always fight them there. Steve is making good progress through the Citadel trials. He is really getting close. This race is tightening up. There's also going to be a spike tile in front of the throne here with dragon zombies. That's another enemy you can use to grind if something goes wrong with the grind fight in the Ice Cavern. The most common reason for that to go wrong is you accidentally step too far away from the fight and have to fall through the cave. And the dragon zombie is where you would make up your missing levels. So both runners now have the rat's tail, so they'll be able to take that on to the Visit Bahamut. We'll give them the class upgrades. The reason we do the class upgrades is not because of the stat boost or anything. It allows us to learn a few extra spells on our wizards. Because the 3 spells we're going to be learning this game are going to be Hilara, Teleport, and Haste. Teleport works a little different than the Exit spell you'll see in a lot of the games. The Exit spell is also available in this game. The Exit spell just takes you to the world map. The Teleport spell takes you to your most recently visited floor in the dungeon you were in. So it's a little better than Exit in one of our dungeons, and because it lets us backtrack not entirely out of a dungeon. If there's only one floor, only one door you go through in a dungeon or in a town, then Teleport will still take you to the world map. Hilara is basically a heal spell that affects the entire party. You don't have the option in Final Fantasy 1 of choosing whether or not spell targets one person or everybody. So Hilara is a full party heal, and we'll be needing it for the final boss. And then the third spell we'll be learning is Haste for the final 2 battles of the game. Haste works very differently than other Final Fantasy games. Instead of speeding up your characters, it doubles the number of times they hit when they attack. If you watch when characters are in a battle, it'll say, 2 hits, 3 hits, 5 hits over their head when they do an attack. Haste will double that number, so it essentially doubles your attack power. And it is very necessary at the level we're at to have that and the Barbarian Sword to take out the final boss. So once we learn all 3 spells in Melmond and the Elf Village, we're going to go visit the Mount Golg. Now, Mount Golg has damage tiles. It's lava that you can walk on. And lava tiles, you would think you'd want to avoid them, but they actually prevent encounters when you're on them. So we're going to walk on them as much as we possibly can. It is fairly common, actually, to get a 0 encounter Mount Golg. Looks like Sigma's already run across 2, so he's not having the greatest luck. But partway through here, we are going to stop and use Hilara in case of these ambushes, like Sigma just got with a Hellhound, where he cast fire on everybody. If he had walked on those tiles too much and gotten down to 1 hit point on every character, that would have been a game over. So we're going to use the Ether to give our characters magic, and then we're going to use Hilara to heal up the party. And because of when he got attacked, Sigma may actually end up doing that twice with the healing, just because he wants to make sure he doesn't have too low hit points when he gets to the boss here, Merilith, the Fiend of Fire. She can cast a fire spell that can wipe out your party if you're not at decent health. If you're at full health, there's not any real risk in her, but a few of us have lost our runs to her. So there's a few unrunnable encounters in this dungeon. The big one is it's one of the ogre. I think it's ogre mage and hellhound battle. Also a lone ogre mage. Yeah, big shout out to the layouts on these races. If you pay attention, they actually have been changing them to match the dungeon that the runners are currently in. Yes, fire elementals are also unrunnable. They are extremely rare. But so was the white mage and dark wizard. So Steve has not been having the greatest luck there. And I see Merilith is another boss that you can one cycle. There's only 2 bosses I'm aware of in the game in this any percent route that is impossible to one cycle. That's a refight boss later, and then the final boss of the game. So if you're playing the game casually, this is one of the parts of the game that's not explained very well that can be a big headache. There is a hidden caravan shop out here in the desert. And there is an item you have to purchase there in order to continue with the game. It's the fairy bottle. It's the bottle that holds a fairy. We're also going to be buying an item called the Giant's Tonic, which increases your hit points by 200 for the duration of 1 battle. That is in case we need it for the final battle. Your hit point leveling in this game is random. You don't just naturally go up, set number of hit points per level. And there is the chance for both your ninja and your black wizard having too few hit points to survive the magic attacks from the final boss of the game. So we buy some Giant's Tonics, which will allow us to increase their hit point pool in that battle if we need to. We usually do need to do it for the black mage and pretty often for the ninja as well. So we released the fairy, so the fairy would give us this oxyale that Sigma just got. The oxyale allows us to breathe underwater, and the next dungeon is entirely underwater, so that's an important thing to have. Like we were talking about earlier, we're coming up on the Sunken Shrine, which there's a lot of possible unrunnable encounters. You can lose some time here, you can make up some time here, either way. And you can get blocked by a blue-haired guy, like Sigma just did there. We don't like blue-haired NPCs in this game. There are several spots where they can get in your way. But, you can lose a lot of time here. There's not much risk of the party getting wiped in this dungeon. There's just several encounters with lots of enemies that are unrunnable. Specifically the Sahagan Prince Chief combination. Also, ghosts are unrunnable, and water elementals. So we're going to be using teleport in a little while here. We're going to show why it's so useful. This dungeon has two branching paths. One goes to the boss. One goes to a item we need, the Rosetta Stone. We need to progress in order to go fight the Fiend of Wind, Tiamat, later. The first thing we're going to do is get the Rosetta Stone. Sigma here is having to deal with some of the Sahagan Prince Chiefs. So that is an unrunnable encounter. Looks like Steve got some too. The race is getting very, very close now. Sigma's now on the floor with the Rosetta Stone. There's also where we can go visit the mermaids that are here to rescue, but we don't. We skip right past them, we go grab the Rosetta Stone, and then we cast Teleport twice to go back 2 floors. This is where it's handier than Exit. We don't leave the dungeon entirely, we just go back 2 floors to the part where the paths branch the 2 directions. Save us a little time there. Steve is having some kind of rotten luck with encounters here. Like people were saying in the chat, the difference in this game, speedrun-wise, are the equipment glitch and the fact that most of the game is generally easier. Something we're going to run across also is because of the equipment glitch, we can get access items from the post-game extra dungeons. Now, we don't visit the extra dungeons in the any % route, but we still get items from them because of the equipment glitch. So if they weren't in the game, we wouldn't have this barbarian sword that we're using to, right now, it's using to fight the ghosts. And they are a very, very important part of why we're able to beat this game as quickly as we can, is getting those swords early. We're also going to be coming up here in just a moment on one of the more complicated menus of the game. We're going to be getting an item called the Light Axe, which we're going to be transforming into some survival vests. At the same time, we're going to be taking some a healing staff we got earlier and changing it into the Lordly Rose for our White Mage, which increases our magic power. We're going to need that both for the final boss for that extra magic power, also to give us the ability to one-shot some items with magic attacks later with the Judgment Staff if we need to, because the enemies are starting to get more powerful. We need the extra magic power. So we're doing 2 different equipment glitches in one menu here. So it's a little more complicated than some of the others. And then later on we're going to be doing a much more complicated one. I'll explain when we get there. The survival vest is the final item we're getting that makes running more easier. And we're going to be equipping them on everybody except for the white mage, who will still get 1 in the armor slot, but she'll get the lordly robes in her other 2 slots. The reason we don't give her lordly robes in her armor slot is it has if it's in your armor slot, it has the regen status attached to it, and we don't want to get that animation of the healing every turn. So our runners are getting much, much closer to each other now. Now we're coming up on Kraken on Sigma's side of the screen. Kraken is pretty much the easiest of the 4 fiends by the time we get to this point. Kraken and Merilith both are extremely easy. Merilith has a chance of casting a spell that will wipe out your party. I think Kraken is the only fiend I've never died to. Very, very quick battle. And so yeah, we're gonna have the post-battle cutscenes overlapping here. It looks like most likely, or be very, very close to it. So this is getting really, really timely. This is fun. Interesting little glitch that was just briefly visible on screen there on Sigma's side is sometimes the teleporters behind the boss fights just disappear. Now Sigma's on his way to the Waterfall Cavern. A lot of runners, this is their least favorite spot in the run. There's a lot of encounters. Amongst them is the enemy called Pyralisks. Pyralisks are an enemy that has a spell that can one-shot your characters individually. If you get ambushed by lots of them, you can get a party wipe that there's nothing you can do about. Also is a very high encounter rate, which is unfortunate, but it kind of, balances out because it's always bad. That's the thing about this dungeon. We don't look forward to it because you never have a really good Waterfall Cavern. You can have a less bad one. Very high encounter rate, and the nightmares can be difficult to run from. Now you can run from them more reliably, and your odds just aren't great on it. But we do attempt to now that we have survival vests as our equipment. When we were using the black guards, we could not have gotten away from them very reliably. Now there's a spike tile here with a bunch of Pyralisks. If you get ambushed on it, it can end the game. And looks like Sigma got through it. He grabbed a ribbon from the chest there and is talking to the robot to get the warp cube, which we need to get through the next dungeon. Now we're going to be doing a pretty complicated menu. We want everybody to have ribbons, but we only have one. So what we're going to do, we're going to be changing the ribbon into a Gigantax, and that Gigantax can then be made into more ribbons. We're also putting it on the shield slot because we just got lucky. Even though it's not a weapon or a shield, they did tie a animation to it for blocking. Most armor items, if you put them on the shield slot, if the party member tries to parry, it tries to do an animation for the parry, it fails, and the game soft locks. But the ribbon will do a sword parry if an enemy attacks them. So we're just lucky that's there because the ribbon makes us immune to status effects. Also, it gives us higher magic defense, which is extremely important for the final boss. Now we're going to Melman for the last time. Talk to the Dr. Un here, Une, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. But we've given him the Rosetta Stone we picked up in the Kraken's dungeon. That allows us to learn a language so we can speak to citizens of another town here in a moment. I'm going to teleport out of here. Sigma's coming over to our final really bad walking section of the game. On this walk, you have a chance of running into Minotaur zombies, which are unrunnable, and you can get a lot of them on this walk. It can lose a lot of time for you. There also are winter wolves here, which they ambush you. They can each cast Ice Storm if there's a big group, and that can be dangerous. You just want to make sure you have hit points coming in here. So right now, Sigma having to fight some Minotaur zombies. And then we're going to go into the village. In the village, we're going to have to sometimes deal with NPCs that like to block your path. There are several here, and they can block it really badly, but sometimes you walk right through. So Sigma had a minor block there, but only one of them, so he didn't lose much time there. But they can be awful cruel here. So he's getting the chime, which will allow him to open the air shrine, and then he's gonna teleport out and walk back to the airship. Meanwhile, Steve is landing the airship, so there's a few minutes between them, but it's all gonna come down probably to the Chaos Shrine. Sigma's not having a great walk back. He's still fighting Minotaur zombies in the time that it took Steve to get down here into the village. Steve got blocked a little worse by an NPC, but it's not too bad. So Steve is definitely making up a little time there. So here in Mirage Tower, you have a very, very high encounter rate on the second floor, but there's only one unrunnable I'm aware of in it, and that is the Blue Dragon. It's a very rare encounter randomly, but there is going to be a spike tile where there will be one. Meanwhile, Steve's dealing with some Minotaur zombies over there. We really don't like those guys. The whole reason we went to Waterfall Cavern was to get that warp cube so that Sigma could step on this red plate here and teleport up into the Flying Fortress, where we'll be fighting Tiamat, the Fiend of Wind. There are a few unrunnables here, which may be just the one. You can run across Evil Eyes. You can also run across air elementals. They are the only elementals you can run from, but sometimes they're difficult to run from. So depending on how many there are, some of us choose to fight them. Evil Eye is the same kind of enemy that we fought on that spike tile earlier for the grind fight. When we say an enemy is unrunnable, it's frustrating to learn which ones were unrunnable because there's no indication like in later games that says you can't run when you try to run from them. The running just fails. There's a little bit of a maze there that Sigma just went through. You have to go up 2 spots on the grid and left 2, or left 2 then up 2, but it's infinitely cycling, and if you lose track of where you are between encounters, you can actually get yourself kind of turned around there. It can be very difficult. Now, Tiamat does have a chance of wiping your party if you don't heal before the battle. He has a Thunderbolt attack, which has cost several of us runs when we forgot to heal. But it looks like Sigma gets through him no problem. Now, on this 4 Tiamat, there's also a chance of running into Warmech, which is the enemy in the game with the most health of any non-post-game content enemy. He's kind of the secret super enemy. So on Sigma's stream, he's walking back in the Chaos Shrine, the final dungeon. You walk in, there's a cutscene showing this enemy walking over and opening this little hidden door. Playing the game casually, you'll think, oh, now that I've gone back to where I started the game, this must be where the final boss lies. Do not follow that guy. That actually leads us into a post-game dungeon. Optional content, very, very difficult, very, very long, not the correct way. To get out, you just walk straight to where you fought Chaos at the beginning of the game, and activate the shrine. The Chaos Shrine is a very dangerous dungeon, obviously it's the final one in the game, with a whole lot of unrunnable encounters. including these purple worms that Sigma just ran into. Alright, so Sigma just ran into the white dragons. They are a difficult set of enemies that you can run from them, but they have a chance of casting a spell called Ice Storm, which can be very damaging to your party. If all 4 of them do it, you could lose some party members. If you get ambushed and all 4 of them do it, you can quickly have a bad day. So we typically just fight white dragons, just for the safety of what might happen if you fail to run. So as you can see, we're just fighting a whole lot of battles, and most of them is just battles that it's scripted that you cannot run from. So these green dragons, which are being very cruel, and just their frequency right now to Sigma, you just have to fight them. And the one bonus of that is you might have a little more hit points and might not need to use the Giant's Taunt in the final battle. Right now, Sigma's Ninja and Black Mage both are below what we would like their health to be for the end of the game. So he might have to Giant Taunt both of them if he doesn't get a few lucky level ups. Alright, so Sigma's fighting the Death Eye right here. That marks, it's usually about 11 minutes from there to the end of the game. It's kind of the average. So we're getting close. And you can see Steve's fighting the Death Eye, so he gained a lot of time because of Sigma's just kind of rotten luck he's been having with the unrunnables. So this is going to be right down to the wire. But we actually had a race the other day where Sigma and I were in the race, and we both killed the Death Eye within the same second, and he ended up finishing the race almost a minute ahead of me. So a lot can happen here in this dungeon. This Ice Gigas Winter Wolf is an unrunnable encounter. Looks like they're both getting it, fortunately, because it can actually be a kind of rough one as far as time goes. They're having the White Mage use the Judgment Staff because she's the only one powerful enough with those lordly robes to one-shot the Ice Gigases with the Judgment Staff. That way we don't have to manually attack them. And Sigma dealing with more white dragons. They are just not being nice to him today. Oh, but then Steve gets some as well. So this is going to be really close. It's going to probably come down to the Chaos Battle. Yeah, it looks like Steve is pulling ahead. Steve also having a fairly good lich floor. Oh, he got some earth elementals though. Those are unrunnable. Usually don't run into them this late in the floor. So here's where we're going to start running into our boss refights. They are hidden tiles, spike tiles with bosses. So here we're going to fight the Four Fiends again. We've actually gone back in time 2,000 years, so we're fighting an older, more youthful, vibrant, tougher version of Lich. We sometimes cannot one-shot, and he will sometimes cast Flare, which can one-shot you. As you can see, this race is getting extremely close. So it looks like Steve got the flare, but since he had healed up before the fight, it was not lethal for him. The second floor is going to be kind of a retread of Mount Gull. We're going to fight a lot of the enemies that we didn't see there because we were running on lava. So the fire elementals on this floor will be unrunnable. Merilith has a chance of casting Faraga, but as long as you've healed up, that shouldn't really be a threat. And it looks like it does happen to Sigma. But he's just fine. And you can one-cycle Merilith if you get lucky damage rolls. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. Sigma's making his way through the Kraken floor while Steve is fighting Merilith. The Kraken floor can be very, very cruel sometimes. So far, it's going pretty okay for Sigma. He got some water elementals, so he's going to want to Judgment Staff them with the White Mage, or the Black Mage. Steve ran across a water elemental. He's choosing to fight them because there's so few of them, and he already had the fight command selected on his characters. Instead of going through the menu and waiting for the animation of the flare spell, he's just going to attack them. Steve is on the Kraken fight now. Not Steve, Sigma. And it looks like he accidentally had his Black Mage run and menuing error. That's okay. Still 2 cycles Kraken. And we're about to see, in just a minute here, the final Fiend floor is the Tiamat floor. It is going to be the quickest of them, but it's also going to see our first use of the spell Haste. We're going to use the Black Mage to cast Haste on the Ninja. You'll see he's going to get 13, 14 hits after he's hasted. He's casting Haste first. That's good luck. You want the Black Mage to go first. So he got 16 hits there with the Ninja. And if the Black Mage goes ahead of the the Ninja, then the Ninja does double damage both rounds. It's a quicker fight. You know, Steve is having some bad luck on the Lich floor. Not the Lich floor, the Kraken floor. Alright, so we're coming up on the final boss here. Sigma is going to heal up, get ethers on the White Mage, make sure she's full hit points. Also going to be glitching her a golden staff to increase her magic power, and removing her survival vest, so she always goes last. we want her to go after Chaos. Chaos will, in most cases, do a powerful all-target magic attack. So every turn of the fight, the white mage is going to be healing. And I didn't get a chance to see Sigma's hit point stats. He's probably going to have, he's going to be using some Giant's tonics. And actually, his Black Mage health ended up being really good. I probably wouldn't have Giant's tonic at all in this case. I might have done the Ninja, which is what he did. His Black Mage actually has excellent health, which is unusual. But the Black Mage will be casting Haste each turn for the first 3 turns on the Ninja, then the Warrior, then himself to increase his attack power. White Mage will be healing every turn. And from here on out, the Ninja and the Warrior should be attacking every turn. Once you have Haste cast on all three of your characters, everyone but the White Mage, you basically just hold down the attack button and wait to win, hoping he doesn't do anything too cruel. But it looks like Sigma's having a really solid Chaos fight. He's not casting his powerful attacks. That was a little scary. He did a physical on the White Mage. If she dies, that's basically it. Because you absolutely need her healing. Alright, so he is just holding down one button, hoping to win. Trying to outrun time. I think he's got it, though. His health's doing pretty good. His White Mage keeps just surviving the physical attacks. Okay, he cast Slowra on the White Mage. Even if it hit, that wouldn't be a problem for her. It's a problem for the other characters. And he did it. So, good game. So Sigma, looks like he won the this first round. Time 1:33.57. That's a pretty good race time. And Steve is on the fight. Let's see how he does. He also has pretty good health on his characters. We can run into some of Chaos's attacks can deal 250, sometimes even 275 or 300 damage, and the Giant's tonic just keeps the character from having such low hit point pools that it's impossible for them to survive the attacks. Steve seems to be in pretty good position here. Alright. So. Unfortunately, he did lose his ninja. Sometimes the powerful attacks do that even he was not able to keep the healing fast enough to keep the ninja alive. He's far enough in the attack and the battle, though, he's probably just going to leave him dead. It's hard to revive a character in this fight. And just hope that the rest of his party has enough damage. The big thing you don't want to happen is have Chaos heal himself. He will occasionally cast Kuraja, give himself 99 hit points. If he does that, you run the risk of your White Mage running out of magic power and not being able to finish the fight. Fortunately, you got a lucky Earthquake there. Earthquake does no damage to the party with their current equipment setup. All right, and Steve makes it through. So good job to both runners. 136.82, still actually a pretty good time for a race on this game. Both runners doing a great job today. So congratulations to both Ood Sigma and PikminSteve, but also obviously to Ood Sigma for winning his first race of the marathon, or of the tournament. Encourage everyone to give Ood Sigma and PikminSteve a follow. They're both great guys, fun to watch, and if you haven't tried Final Fantasy 1, either casually or the speedrun, I recommend giving it a shot. The PSP version is a very different game, and it's a whole lot of fun to run and to play casually. We got a really welcoming community. If you have any questions, you can always ask us. Tips on the game, we'll be happy to help you out. We have a Discord community that we keep going for all the Final Fantasy, for all the Final Fantasy 1 games. So the NES game, the PSP game, the PlayStation version, and the DS version, or rather the Game Boy Advance, rather. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I've been talking a lot, and I'm sure y'all are tired of that. But my name's Shinbreaker7, and everyone just have a wonderful night, and in just a moment we're going to have another race starting. You guys have a good day.
Alright, the stream's gonna go down for just a moment while we switch restreamers. Don't picnic too hard.